better to do.
Good evening, everyone. It is so great to see so many faces on here. My name is Sandy McClure, and I'm from Creede, Colorado. But tonight I'm actually in Falcon, Colorado, watching my grandkids. And so, um, this what we do can be taken all over, all over the world. And I am so fortunate tonight to bring on my dear friend Nancy Bryan. I know that's why you guys are here. She brings so much information to us. And anytime we see her name, we are like, we are going to make sure that we make time for that. I do want you to know that Nancy has taken carved time out of her night tonight. She's got a million things going on, but she is willing to come to you to share her expertise and what she knows. And I will tell you that she has a long list of credentials, and I did not get her bio. I've been in the last hour trying to run down or get a kid to get 104 fever knocked down, and I'm here by myself with my grandkids. Okay. So they're doing well. So this is why it's going to be a little, you may not see much of me, but you don't need to see me. You need to see Nancy. She's got the crux of what we need to hear. And I am so thankful that she does. We are surrounded by so many great people here. So Nancy and we've gotten to know each other in the last several months, and I just feel smarter when I stand next to her. She's an amazing person. She is always willing to offer her expertise. And so please, in the chat, you guys don't forget to tell her how much you are grateful for her. We are going to ask that you write your questions down. And then at the end of this, we can come back and answer some of those questions. But we want to try to focus on this instead of having to follow that chat, because we want to be focused. We have a lot that we want to cover tonight. So Nancy, I'm gonna first of all, I'm gonna let you talk just real briefly a little bit about your background, and then I'm gonna ask you the first question. Okay?
Sure.
So you can go ahead and tell us a little bit about what brought you to LifeVantage, why somebody like you would endorse these products.
Oh, well, as I was mentioning just a little bit earlier, my background, I am a pharmacist and a doctor of pharmacology, but my first degree was actually a master's in molecular biochemistry. And the master's that I had was because I was always that kid in science class that just wanted to see what the heck was going on inside the body. That was always a curiosity for me. And so the molecular biochemistry was all about balancing chemistry in a cell, right? And so as time went on and I learned all these things about pharmaceuticals, and then I worked for a major pharmaceutical company, I was passionate about diabetes. I became a certified diabetic educator. And basically the bottom line to the whole thing was, as time went on, I was not understanding, following what the medical system was doing and seeing that it was really doing anything to enhance. Basically what they were doing is giving medications, but nothing was really helping people in terms of what was going on with the diabetes. And I was very inquisitive and started looking a lot into gut health. And that's why we're going to do the talk tonight, because the more I looked into it, the more I found, the more it related to the molecular biochemistry I talked about and thought and understood to be the true key to our health. And that really was what precursed me, along with being sick, into looking into a lot of different nutrients. And this is important for you to all know. I was told about this company from a surfer, okay? Not a molecular biochemist, not a doctor, not a pharmacologist, none of those people. I was told by a surfer. And the reason that the surfer told me was we had something in common. We both had been diagnosed with a really bad form of melanoma. And so he sent me a study, and he wanted me to look at the study and see if it made sense. And that study was from Louisiana State University. You can still look it up. It's one of our 33 peer-reviewed studies that we have in our resources. And what that study did was it took rodents, painted bunches of toxins on them, which created cancer. And some of the rats had NRF2 and some of them didn't. And the ones that didn't all died. And the ones that did all survived. And when I saw that study, I was like, what the heck? And let me tell you, the important thing here, it was Protandim by trade name. It wasn't the ingredients. That's what most studies do. It wasn't the ingredients. Now, I looked up the ingredients. That was the first thing I did. Then started asking questions, and be careful what you wish for, because the next thing you know, I'm on the science board. So that really truly is what brought me here. And it was really truly the impact that the Protandim NRF2, the studies, the true information, and me taking it to my oncologist and him being just amazed at what we had and what it was. And more importantly, with what happened to me over the next 3 months. And I'm happy to say that even though back then they gave me a few years to live, it was in 2009, and I think I made it a little longer.
And we are all so grateful for that, Nancy. Seriously, it's amazing. And for me to be surrounded by people like you, I don't have the degrees you have, but it's just to stand around and watch all of you talk and to see the looks on your faces and the passion for being able to help people. It's amazing. And so what we've come here tonight, Nancy, is for, we have a lot of products here, and I don't ever want people to, every time we get a new product, we get really excited, but I never want to lose the foundation of where it all started with that yellow pill. So thank you for sharing so much of that information with us, because it's everything working synergistically. All of these products are formulated and designed to work together. I knew nothing about activation 5.5 years ago, right after I had breast implant illness, due to implants being put in after bilateral mastectomy, going through breast cancer. That's what you and I have in common as well. I never thought I'd feel as good as I feel. And so I'm now I realize through talking to you and being around you for a week how important gut health is. And so, I think that there's a lot going on out in the world right now. I mean, we know that 55% of US adults, according to a recent Gallup poll, I think it's higher than this, but 55% of US adults desire to lose weight. And I don't think people really understand the importance of the gut health as it relates to weight loss. We all say we want to lose weight, so we're going to go out and exercise. We're going to go do this without a real plan. But you're saying, Nancy, I know that there's a lot of people who might be on a plan, but they're still not seeing the scale move. And so I want you to bring insight into just what it is that we need to focus on before we ever think of the other things, which might be gut health. What's your insight on that?
Well, it's so true. And this goes back to what I was speaking of earlier, knowing and understanding. And, today we've got all these people jumping on all these bandwagons of what's going to make people lose weight fast and what's supposed to bring your health back quickly and all this. But the bottom line is, you know what? It all comes back to the gut health first. We have a plethora of microbiomes, living organisms that are in our gut, and we have to really treat them well. And the reason is because they have such a huge impact. I'll give you an example. As we're talking about some of the impacts that we're having for people looking at current strategies for losing weight, we need to keep in mind two things that the gut does that are ultra important. We have two hormones that it produces. One of them is called ghrelin, and I laugh because it kind of sounds like, growling, right? And guess what it is? It's the hunger hormone. So ghrelin, that makes sense. And the other one is called leptin. And that is the hormone that tells us that we're full or that we're satiated. Those two things are completely dictated and run by the microbiome, by the microorganisms in our gut. They dictate and turn on what goes on with those. And that's why it's so important, because if we don't have that microorganism balanced, it can create a lot of problems in a lot of different areas. But in specific, especially when we start talking about people and why maybe they've tried many things and haven't lost the weight.
I had to unmute myself because I don't want any distraction. But so yeah, so even people who maybe, as I said, on a program are not understanding that prior to getting on a program, we need to check our gut health. And I never knew that before. I know I have an amazing gut health now. So as we know, You know, we're hearing it all over. There's the buzz letters and number that's going around GLP-1. We've heard about it,
Mhm.
right? And at
Yes.
LifeVantage, we too understand the complexity of the GLP-1 hormone with the recent launch of our mind-body GLP-1. And it's our weight management system. I love calling it a weight management system, not a weight loss system. I think it's very important. The two are very completely different things. But let's talk first about, again, as we talked about, preparing our bodies for a favorable experience with that GLP-1. Again, that's our latest launch of product. We have a gut health essentials stack and a collagen that we highly recommended and encouraged people to start on prior to the launch. We had a lot of talks about that. We called it our good, better, best stack, right, Nancy?
Mhm.
And so
Yes.
I know personally that when I got people started on that, many of them are on the call tonight. And if you are, go ahead and put in the chat how grateful you are that you started that way and what you actually started with, that their experience seemed to be amplified because they got their gut health in check. So what we can't forget is the foundation. And Nancy, I really want you to emphasize the fact that GLP-1 mind body system is going to be around forever now. It's not it's not on back order anymore. It's going to be here forever. We don't need to be in a hurry to get to that point. If we, I think it's like maybe prepare and make sure we're really doing well and then add that in, because again, it's not going anywhere and we're looking for a sustainable, healthy weight management lifestyle. And I have it. I mean, I had already been on all those products. My experience on the GLP-1 has been amazing at 60 years old. Have I lost a lot of weight? Not really, but I look like I have. And it's kind of like a shifting of things. And so I'm going to ask you about that. Why would you endorse that regimen that we talked about, the good, better, best? And what happens, when we add those things?
Well, for me, first and foremost, back to this discussion on gut health, right? What One of the products that I helped develop at the company was our prebiotic. We also have a probiotic. And the reason that we have those is here we are giving our body these other nutrients, these other products that we have. But if your gut isn't in a position in the first place to be able to optimize absorbing them and utilizing them, that becomes a problem. And so, what I like to do is talk first and foremost about, why is that important? Well, as I talked about those two hormones that take care of our hunger and our satiation, those microbiomes have to be present. And guess what? They get fed. Prebiotics are a fibrous source that go in and feed the probiotics. And guess what? In so doing, part of that process is what is signaling our body to then develop the GLP-1. So it's all a fine part of the puzzle. And the other thing that's really important is that our prebiotics and our probiotics are very essential in terms of our connection with our gut and our brain, with our brain communication and understanding that satiation. So it's really important for that pre and probiotic to be there. But nothing gets me more fired up and just crazy than when we start talking about our collagen. Because you know what? Of course, everybody runs to the store to get their collagen for their hair and their nails and their skin and all that kind of thing. Well, our collagen is different. It activates our own collagen to be made. And there's so many components of collagen being made that aren't taken care of when a collagen is taken from the outside. And so when we take our collagen, yes, we do get forms of collagen to utilize, 10 forms, but we also make it and we also slow down the breakdown of it. Why is this important? I want you to think about your gut lining like skin. It's skin on the inside. So if we're taking a collagen and we want all this to look all nice, guess what's happening to that skin level, that lining of the digestive tract? It's improving and its function is improving as well. And so we knew when we did our studies, we were seeing things happen when we first started with our NRF2 and our collagen. We were seeing things that we knew should happen, but then we were seeing things we didn't expect. And that brought us to the study, which I lose my mind about, because guess what? Guess what that study does? It significantly decreases genes that are breaking down our immune system and constantly hitting it. Okay. So it literally is resetting our immune system. Do you know how important that is? You all know what inflammation is. Well, inflammation is fibroblasts in our body fighting all the stresses, all the different things. But when we have so much going on, think about our phone systems and all kinds of things that are going on. You know what? If a satellite's beaming through your house into your little iPad or your phone or your TV or your computer, it's going through our bodies too. So we are under constant assault. And what that study showed was that it gave pause. It gave pause to our immune system to relax a minute and to go back to normal. I can't think of anything that's going to help your body to start optimizing and being in a cellular balance than starting there. That's why I got so crazy about our NRF2 and collagen study. And you add to that what we see when we add into it the prebiotic and the probiotic. So you're absorbing all these entities. And that to me was one of the biggest exciting things for me that became a component. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is Sandy always wants me to talk about, well, what's the best way for people to get started? What do I do to start people? And I'll be honest with you, you know what? We have a lot of products that activate and have a huge role. Of course, I would want people to be on as many as they can. But if you can only start in a specific spot to start with, and it has to be slow so that we can reset our system to begin with so it can utilize things, I'm going to recommend starting with our NRF2 and our collagen first. Let's get that gut tissue, if you will, starting to heal. And then, of course, adding in that prebiotic so that we're feeding the microbiome. That's going to be really helpful. And then as we go, we're going to be adding in some of the other products. But to me, the good system is good. You've got to be on NRF2. I simply don't know an animal or human today in today's world that isn't going to be improved on our NRF2. And it's simply because there's been nothing else proven to do what it does. But then when you add in there the ability to be able to take in the gut essentials with it, our prebiotic and our probiotic, that's going to start healing our gut. So we optimize all of the nutrients. And then when you take in the best, to me, that's adding in our collagen. And if you can, for sure, the NRF1. And I apologize. Of course, my son left and their dog has decided to be part of my program. So my apologies. So we're all about pets too. Remember, I just said I don't know an animal or a human that shouldn't be on it. And for those of you that don't know, our pet tandem is magnificent. And that pet tandem works great for my little Tito here, who weighs a whopping 6 or 7 pounds. But for my son's dog, who's over in the corner looking at me and causing all kinds of trouble, guess what? She has to be on one of the NRF2s a day, along with a pet tandem, because she's a big dog. She weighs 60 pounds. And so I think that sometimes they need a little bit of extra help, more than they're going to get just from the pet tandem. And so I hope that helps answer as to what we do in terms of making a good recommendation to get started. And I know we're going to have questions on that down, at the end. But one of the things I'd like to state, if people are taking a look at our mind body, I like you to get your body, your cells optimized first. Then you're going to utilize, when we get started with this mind body, you're going to start utilizing it properly. Okay. And that may only mean a week or two for some people, but some people have had a lot of issues with their digestive tracts and their bodies, and they may take a little bit of longer time to help rebalance our cells. Okay. So now, having said that, one of the things that she wants me to talk about a little bit is, okay, well, let's talk about GLP-1. What is GLP-1? And for those of you, if you're interested, I'd be happy to get this out to you. I had the blessing to have a couple of people in my group that are really on top of things, one of which is a gentleman by the name of Gary. I love Gary to pieces. And he helped me put together a little information sheet. It was supposed to be a card, but I didn't have time and I printed it out, and lo and behold, look, it turned into a little trifold. And I love it. And guess what it does? It just does the most important thing for me, which is I want you to know and understand what GLP-1 is, but I don't want you to have to learn it to reiterate it. So guess what? How about if you have a little sheet here that says, what is GLP-1? When you eat, your body naturally makes GLP-1. Number one, it's a smart hormone that communicates. It helps your brain via the gut-brain axis to control digestion. It helps balance blood sugars. And here's the most important part. It supports the health of several organs, including your heart, liver, and kidneys. And we're going to talk more about that in a minute. The better wellness starts when you have the mind-body connection going. And because what happens is when you have GLP-1 start to decline, because your microbes aren't doing their work, because you're not getting things absorbing through your digestive tract, whatever is creating the GLP-1 to diminish, guess what? That starts causing hunger signals that are improper. It starts causing all kinds of stress. It starts causing all kinds of other factors that can happen. And so what we want to do is we don't want to have those cravings. We don't want to have false hunger. All right. That means you've just eaten and you're still hungry. And we don't want the weight gain that comes along with that. So what I love is our GLP-1 system boosts the GLP-1. It activates it. There's nothing more important than activating our own body to do this. Just like we're activating collagen, just like we're activating our NRF2, we've figured out genes that turn this back on, which is huge. And by doing so, we're going to reduce appetite, more importantly, the food cravings and the urge to eat, which we call food noise. If you've never heard that term before, it's that food noise on what your gut is telling your brain you want to eat. And it was beyond my expectation that there could be something that would help our stomach tell our brain to eat things more healthy and actually have me have a jar of jelly beans sitting over there that I haven't even touched in a month because I look at them now and I don't even want them. Whoever knew there could be something that would tell your brain, don't eat that. And I'm not doing it to kind of talk myself into it. That's where this has taken me on this journey, and I'm forever amazed. So that's the important thing, is understanding what is GLP-1. Then the most important thing I think I was telling you is that what we found was that when people were taking NRF2 by itself, there were certain genes that would happen. When they were taking the mind-body, our new weight management system, which consists of 2 capsules and some powder, when you took that individually, there were some genes that expressed that were helping the body do its best. But when they were brought together, something unbelievable occurred. And when this study was released, I can tell you everybody on the science team, especially Melody Rodarte and I, because we were the micro team of the science board for this, we lost our minds, because guess what it did? The 2 of them together started activating 22 genes. And those 22 genes do all kinds of amazing things. It wasn't just about the weight. It reinforced the body's foundation for enhancing structural integrity of organs. Do you know what that means? Our study was showing that it started improving our organs again. That is just unbelievable. There are no meds that do that. There's no therapies that do that. There's nothing that's ever been proven to do that till now. There is a reason that Wall Street lost its mind when this was put out. And we saw the potential of where our company was going. Here's the other thing. It addresses key factors contributing to organ decline, okay? So it's not only helping enhance the integrity of the organs, but it's contributing to stopping the things that decline it, okay? So that's going to promote healthier aging. It optimizes the organ function for, guess what? Energy and vitality too. We're not just talking hunger. We're talking about having the ability to wake up at the right time. And guess what? Even more importantly, sleeping really well. That was one of the first things a lot of people told me. It maintains healthy brain and neuronal activity to support clear and rapid communication and sharp cognitive function. Let's talk about where that's been in the last few years in our country, seeing more and more and more of the decline of cognitive abilities through dementia, through Alzheimer's, foggy thinking, all the different things. And we have the chance to see that change. That's why this was called mind body, not let's lose a bunch of weight. Okay. It supports cardiovascular and respiratory health, and it is a very huge component in a healthy gut barrier, back to what we were talking about, right? And guess what that means? That means proper gut brain connection. And collectively, what that does is really show an overall physiological resilience and functionality. And so that study, why we all got so crazy and excited, was because there's never been anything shown to do that. So what are we talking about actually? What we're talking about is, a product that the mind body portion, the capsule portion, the core portion of it, for the most part, you know what? The core portion was basically to help activate those pathways, that GLP-1 pathway. There's also a GLP-2 pathway. I won't go into all the details of that, but basically it's the communication of the gut to the brain and the gut knowing what to do with food, okay? And by doing so, it's signaling so that the pancreas releases things that helps control our insulin sensitivity. It helps control what our body is going to do every time food gets in it, all right? So you're going to have proper regulation of blood sugars. And that's one of the things they allowed us to say, is that we help maintain healthy, normal blood sugar levels. Woohoo! I'll take that all day long, because guess what? That is a huge key to health. But then we talked about what happens with the fiber portion of this. And so many people are like, can't I just take the capsules? There was a very huge reason the company would not sell them independently, because they don't work independently. They work together. And I know it's difficult because this process takes time in our body. So where you may have seen the capsules helping things initially, where you don't feel like eating and some of the things like that, what comes in the form of that protein powder is some things that are really, really important. First and foremost, 48% dietary fiber. What does that do? It also stimulates your own GLP-1. That fiber has a pathway that turns that back on. That's very important for everything from keeping us from going to diabetes later in life, to utilizing sugars as we take them in our diet, and to break them down, right? So one of the things that we like to see happen is the fact that when we start taking the products, I can't say enough about having our prebiotic there, because we're going to be feeding those probiotics, and those probiotics are what are going to help enhance how we're utilizing all the foods that we're taking into our system, right? So, for instance, as we're talking about the NRF2 and the collagen, think of it first as the collagen going in and keeping all that actual tissue in such good form, and then the NRF2 working in the cell to help operate optimally what's going on with every part of our digestive system, okay? So as we're talking about what things people should be expecting, people get so caught up in if they're losing weight, okay? They get on our mind body, those capsules, the capsules first and foremost are really designed to help have some of the proper probiotics and things in there that we're going to need to help our bodies to utilize it. All right. The powder itself has fibrous things in it. It has things that are going to optimize what we're doing with the GLP-1 and what keeps it going. So it's really important to keep those two things together. And I think that when we start talking about understanding what sets the mind-body system apart from people that are getting some of the injections and some of the other things that are synthetic that say they're GLP-1, there's a huge difference between pushing something into your body and your body making it. Think of it like this. Do you think your body's going to operate best on the insulin that your body is producing, or if you had to inject insulin. We know there's no comparison. Yes, to live, if you have no insulin production happening, you're going to have an injection of it. But in the meantime, what if your body has the ability to start activating? And it's going to take a little time. If over time we've destroyed this function, it's going to take a little time for it to come back. And so what has to happen first and foremost is having that prebiotic and probiotic in there to help clean things out, to help restore the balance of that cell, right? And then the next phase is going to be that we're going to help operate that cell functioning properly again. So the time frame does take a little bit of time. And I think one of the things I like to express to people is I like to do it in a form of knowing how you're going to get started with it and the expectations you're going to have. Phase one is going to be basically when you get started that first 4 to 6 weeks. I really don't even let most of the people I get started on this jump on a scale that soon, because a lot of different things are going to happen. As your body is detoxing, sometimes you've got water retention issues, sometimes you've got toxins stuck, sometimes your whole digestive tract has to be reset. So the things I want you to start paying attention to in that first part is that you're going to be clearing out the bad and you're going to be resetting the good. So think about that in your first 4 to 6 weeks. That the 2 capsules are going to start working fairly immediately, starting to rev up some of this stuff, but it's going to take time. And there are some people that have to go a little slower. 4 scoops might be a little bit overwhelming in terms of how much fiber there is all at one time for someone. And we recommend when you take that powder, mix it in. I personally like to mix it in with my prebiotic. I mix up the prebiotic. I mix it up with our daily wellness, so I'm getting other vitamins and nutrients that we need. And then I also throw in the Axio, because I know I need that Axio for my ultimate cognitive thinking, and it's going to help. Our GLP-1 product, our mind body, does cross the blood-brain barrier. It will get to our brain, but there's a lot of things it has to do once it gets there. Okay. So that phase one is really that first 4 to 6 weeks. Phase two is going to be where we have a little bit better balance. That's the 6 to 10 week mark. Okay. Some of you are going to start seeing a lot better digestion. Some of you are going to start seeing better stool formations. Some of you are going to see kind of a connection starting to happen with your brain and your stomach. And maybe you're going to start to feel a little bit more full now. You're starting to listen to your stomach and you're not as hungry. So that food noise is starting to go down. By the time we get to phase 3, the 10 to 14 week mark, this is where we're activating it optimally. Okay. Now we're going to start seeing where we're really going. And that's what we saw in our studies, because at that point, this is where you're really going to start seeing the food noises change. And that's where you're going to start seeing literally your mind deciding to choose something different and to eat less and maybe less often, that you're not constantly thinking about it all the time. That's where that powder is starting to come in and start to get its work done. Okay. And then by the time we hit phase 4, which is 15 plus weeks, what we saw in our studies, this is when we got really excited, because guess what? That's when we started seeing optimization of our body organs. We started seeing cardiovascular health that was improving. We started seeing digestive tract health that was improving. We saw better lab values for kidneys and for liver and for several other organs. And the main reason was, we can't say we treat, mitigate, prevent, or cure anything, but the body can restore its optimum health when it's activated properly. And that's what we start to see. And ultimately, yes, we're going to see those pounds start to melt off. But I know there's some people that have really struggled, and they've done all those things and they feel like they've done all those things. But a couple of things I want you to keep in mind. First and foremost, one of the things that starts happening is we saw 100% of the people in our trials did not lose muscle. Do you know how hard to explain that to people? Because it's the number one huge issue with all those other products. It's the number one thing they do when you're shoving GLP-1 into your body, is it starts eating up muscle. And I'm so grateful because we saw 100% weight maintenance, which is unheard of. The other thing we saw was normal blood sugar levels maintained. That's huge. Okay. That means the pancreas is signaling properly and the liver is listening and the gut is listening. All right. Those are really important things. But here's some important things to remember that you're going to need to do in terms of lifestyle changes, because I would never tell someone, look, you're just going to take this and you're going to lose all this weight. And I know that's the expectation they're coming from the other products that are out on the market. I'm not going to do that, because to have optimum health should be the goal. I don't care what you weigh. What I care about is your optimum health. And by doing that, we need to make sure, are you being mindful? One of the biggest things that happened, and I loved hearing from Dr. Brett Brimhall when we talked about the ghrelin and the leptin, those two hormones. One of the things that happens is all the processed foods, guess what? Those are designed to get those shut down. It shuts them down. And guess what it turns on? It turns on some other pathways that make you crave those processed foods over and over. So let's talk about, if you can think about it, let's try to get toward less processed foods as you can. Try to get with whole foods. Try to get with whole vegetables. Try to get some things that are going to be a little bit easier so that you're making mindful choices. All right. And it's not easy. I know. I don't expect all of this to happen all at once, but just some mindful tips. The second thing, you've got to move. You've got to move. I don't care if you walk outside your house and walk around the house 20 times. I don't care what you're doing. You have to move. Movement is key to operating the whole system. All right. The physicalness of it, but the physicalness of it drives the chemistry balance of it. All right. So make sure you're getting some kinds of exercise, even if it's a tiny amount. Start small and build your way up, because as time goes and you get on these products, you're going to feel more motivated to do it. Water intake, I cannot tell you enough. I think with all the people, the Club 55, with all of us that got started on it early, it was the number one thing that all of us failed. And that was because we were sticking our 4 scoops in with our daily wellness and all that and sipping on that and not drinking water besides. You've got to have water. And they're recommending that you have the amount of ounces based on the number of kilograms. So if you're 150 kilograms, you need to have 50, and they're not saying, they're saying no, but they're saying, but my point of it is you got to have a lot of water, okay? You've got to have proper water, and it's going to have to be at least 64 ounces. If I have to give you a number, at least, and strive for more. And what I do is I drink some of my water, and then I drink some of my drink, and then I drink some of my water, then I drink some of my drink. That way I'm getting it in. You need rest. Sleep is important. Sleep is when our body repairs. A lot of people don't understand that. And if you don't get into the deep sleep REM, guess what? You're not repairing all that you can repair. So you need to get into sleep mode. So make sure you're getting plenty of rest. And then most foremost, try to limit your stress. Try to take 5 or 10 minutes a day where you're doing something that makes you feel happy, where you're having a minute to clear your mind, or that you're getting rid of some of the stress so that you can give your body that chance to let it shut down for a minute. And in so doing, that's going to really go a long way. All of those components have a lot to do with GLP-1 being released. All right. So some of the other things that I like to talk about, protein. Oh my goodness, we have got to have more protein. Please understand, there's something called tryptophan in protein. It also helps to produce GLP-1. It's a very important component of it. So you want to make sure that you're getting enough of it. And you can get it in lots of different forms. It can be in forms of avocados. It can be in forms of, I mean, there's lots of different things that contain proteins. All right. So make sure that you're getting enough of that. And then you want to consider alcohol use. I know that comes up a lot. I hate to say it because believe me, I'm someone that enjoys going out with my friends and doing the things I like to do, but you've got to give the liver, when the liver is focused on breaking down alcohol, it stops focusing on breaking down fat and does just the opposite. It starts allowing the fat to accumulate and be stored somewhere because it's not being taken care of. All right. So keep that in mind. And then in closing, I want to make sure that I think the best advice that I can give you, this is called mind body, right? Your mindset is so important. Don't get stuck on numbers. Make sure that you're taking a look at how your body is doing in terms of measurements. Because as you start replacing and getting your muscle, I know for me, when I got started on it, I actually gained a little bit of weight. Well, guess what? I had been in a position where I had lost a ton of weight, and some of it was muscle mass. As I was taking the mind body, I was building up some of my contouring again, and my muscles were coming back. Well, muscle innately weighs more than fat does. And so keep that in mind. And it does sometimes change your inches too. So for me, the most important thing was I loved seeing those little rolls that were accumulating along my back and along my belt. Those over 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 weeks got less and less. And I can tell you right now, they're gone, which is pretty amazing. The other thing is just for me, oh my gosh, the mindset. Yes, we want to have a good mindset, but I'm telling you, it's helped me have one. It's kept me positive. It helps me to focus. It keeps me from having that mental fogginess, and that, you go to try to think of that person's name and you see them and you can't think about it. It's there now. And so those are some things that I think we're going to be seeing as time goes on. And then the things you don't see. This comes back to, you don't know. You could have blood vessels that have had some issues. You could have nerves that have had issues. Your body will go fix first what it needs to. So don't give up and don't understand the ultimate importance of the mind body. So I hope that's been helpful for you. What I'd like to do is maybe see if we can get some of the questions answered. And I know Kim must be busy because she hasn't been back here. So I know she's been dealing with a grandson who's not well. So hopefully.
Actually, Nancy, it's Sandy, not Kim.
Oh, did I say Kim? Oh my gosh. See, and here I have, guess what I haven't been drinking enough of?
No, it's totally okay. Grandkids have been amazing.
Oh, good.
They have been great. I've been checking on them. I've been here the entire time. I've been listening. Good. And I do know that, there was a question, clear up. And again, that, what about when you gain weight? And I loved your explanation of that because you gained weight, and we have to think about that. I 135-pound Sandy McClure, who's working out, looks a whole lot different than 135-pound Sandy McClure who's not. Okay. And so I want to emphasize to all of you how important those pictures are. And we see ourselves every day. So give yourself some grace. And I have a group that I coach, and people are being vulnerable and putting their pictures in there, and they say, I don't think I see any change. And the rest of us are going, are you kidding me? And then we point that out. And I have some friends on here right now who didn't think they were seeing any. You guys, that breakthrough happened for them. But again, Nancy, I think that we need to go back and we need to be honest with ourselves. If we are putting on a lot of weight and our britches are tight and everything, it's really important to eat good, nutritious food, but moderation is the key. You can overeat. So how many calories are you taking in as compared to how many you're burning? It's an overall system. What would you say to that?
I mean, the thing of it is, we're all individual. Each of us has a different metabolism in terms of how we're burning it. Some of it's our age, some of it's some of the other things. But I have to tell you, if there's one component that has the biggest contributing factor, it's stress. Stress exponentially is by far the single leading issue with most people in terms of their health, of their weight, of their mental health. It has a lot to do with so much. And so that's why when I tell you the most important thing, you do have to find that moment where you can have a little bit of mental clarity in every day. That mindset does have a difference. And what I love is as you're working on it, this product combination is going to help you get there. But I also do really want to get back to the initial part of this. Some people may need to be taking the prebiotic and the probiotic and making sure that they're getting their gut back to balance first. And I think that that's one of the biggest issues that we run into, is that people don't have the proper gut function for their body to start doing what it needs to have the communication for the GLP-1.
Well, Nancy, that's such a great explanation. And I learned so much again tonight. You think you know a lot about it, and then you come on and you give such great insight. You also make it easy to understand for all of us. And so I want to thank you so much for sharing everything that you've shared tonight. And for those of you who are on live, lucky you, we're going to have a little Q&A after this. I am going to stop the recording, but I am going to encourage you, please reach back out to the person who brought you here. This recording will be available, and just whoever invited you here will be able to get it. If they got the information for the call, they'll be able to get the information for the recording. We're always happy to share that. We thank you so much for taking time out of your night, because the more you know, the more you're around the fire, the more you learn, and you investing your time in this means it's important to you. And so thank you very much. And thank you, Nancy. I'm going to go ahead and close this Zoom out, and then we'll open it up for Q&A. Thanks again, everyone.